That continuing with our earnings focus, Action Construction is in focus after its second quarter. The company's EBITDA grew by 22%. Net profit also grew almost 30%. Sorab Agarwal, who's the executive director of the company, who's joining us this afternoon. Sorab, good afternoon. Thank you for joining in. Let's start off with the road ahead as well. You had earlier guided for a 15 to 20% growth going forward. Do you stick to that guidance for the rest of the year, considering how your first half has been? And what's the second half looking like?
Yeah, good afternoon. I think we are very much on track for our 15 to 20% growth in this year. We did anticipate that things would be slower in the first 2 quarters, and that is what we had planned for. So we're very much on track with respect to 15 to 20% growth. And if you look at the history of our company, about 55% of our revenue comes in the second half. So looking at that, and obviously the market sentiment has definitely increased October onwards. The order inflows have also increased. So we are very confident that a 15% plus is a given, and it could go up to 20%.
All right, 15% plus is given, could go up to 20%. The first quarter was obviously impacted by the elections. The second quarter was good, one of the best second quarter ever. And the third quarter, there is the Maharashtra election as well. So would there be an impact on account of that? That's point number one. And secondly, if you could give us, what is the current utilization of your equipment, and what are the yields on that equipment? How are they likely to pan out going ahead?
I don't foresee any impact of the Maharashtra elections because our product go everywhere, even in the export market. So I think all that is pretty okay. And with respect to our utilization levels, I think we've been working around 65 to 70% for our main segment in the last quarter, and that continues in this quarter. Here, I would just like to add that we'll be further adding capacity, which is already underway, the expansion. So we will have more capacity in our main segment, which is the cranes, construction equipment, but landing segment, by Q4. And our utilization currently are about 65% plus. And in the agri segment, the utilization is close to about 25-30%.
Sorab, you mentioned in your earnings call as well that you're expecting good sales in the current quarter because of the fact that you're expecting some pre-buying ahead of the transition to the BS5 norms. Could you quantify that? What kind of pre-buying are you anticipating?
See, ideally, about 10 to 20% extra buying happens whenever there is a generation change. And right now, let's say in quarter 4, BS3 machines are going to BS5 and BS4 are also going to BS5. So that could easily add an additional 10-20%, especially in the month of December. I would say second half of November onwards. And we are hopeful that will happen, apart from the increased momentum which is already in place.
Right. With your utilization increasing, what are the kind of margins that you foresee from both your segments in this year and the next?
See, on a whole year basis for the current year, I would say that we should be somewhere around 17 to 18% level, EBITDA level. And with our utilization increasing further, or our operating leverage playing in, we believe that there is always a point, about a percentage point increase possible in EBITDA with every 500-600 crores increase in turnover, and which has been playing on for the last 2-3 years. So that this growth with respect to EBITDA is possible if the company intends to do so.
So fair to say that 16 to 17% around about margins for the full year is achievable?
Yes, easily.
Right. Now, right. We've spoken about an order from the Defense Ministry as well, Sorab. You've won a couple of orders in the month of August and September as well. You're expecting either in the third quarter somewhere around 300 to 400 crore worth of orders. Have you heard something from the ministry? What's the progress on that front?
It's in final stages, and hopefully it should get through in November, if not in December. So this is an order which is slightly bigger than 400 crores. This will be our single biggest order ever. And also, obviously, the biggest order from the Indian Army. So I think this will be a shot in arm with respect to our defense initiative which we have been taking. And we wanted to go between 5 to 10% with respect to the defense contribution to our business. And with this order in hand, I'm sure in FY26 and FY27, we would be somewhere 6 to 7% at least with respect to our revenue contribution coming in from defense.
Wonderful. So defense increases from 2.5 to 3.5 in this year, along with this order, and 6 to 7% in the next couple of years as well. What about exports? Because, that is something that you were looking to increase as well. Where do you see that as a proportion of your overall sales going? Because, it's 8% of your sales, but at the same time, the outlook in global markets is a little bleak.
Our medium to long-term plan is to take it between 10 to 15%, maybe even up to 20%. And we are working on that plan. But here I would just like to add that in the short term, last quarter, the contribution was 5% because some orders and deliveries have got shifted into quarter 3. So hopefully we should gear up within the second half with respect to our exports also for the current year. But going forward, medium to long term, we are targeting at least 10 to 15% and aiming to 20%.
Sorab, the first half was not a very good half for the agri-equipment business. It was down almost 40% in the first quarter, was almost flattish, just a slight 3% growth in the second quarter. How is the second half shaping up for the agri-equipment business? And if you could also tell us how much of your overall mix is the agri-equipment business?
Agri business is about 8% of our revenue. But if you look at the half-year basis, we have definitely dropped in business. But if you look at year-on-year basis for the quarter, we have grown by 42%. The drop has come primarily because of the export orders. Last year, in the first half, we had some significant export orders from Africa, which were under execution. So I'm sure this pace will pick up in the second half as we have more export orders from some other countries. So hopefully, we'll be able to make up for that in the second half of this year. And like I said, the contribution is close to 8% to our revenue.
All right, Sorab, thank you so much for sparing time and joining us on the show to take us through the quarter gone by. Wish you good luck for the second half of the year as well. The management of Action Construction Equipment, the stock off the lows of the day as